to Hemp Talk. Hello, and welcome to the Hemp Talk. We've had a little introduction there. My name is Naomi Robinson, and I'm just going to go over a few of the things we'd like to discuss this evening and go on to discuss over the next every 2 weeks, over the next applying for license and sowing season. Okay. So the aims of this is to kind of collaborate all the hemp associations so that we're all communicating together with regards to the importing of seeds and different types. So it's always beneficial to get one order over for a group of farmers rather than doing it individually. We want to teach you how to prepare the field and cover, how much seed is needed per acre. Also, what will be needed for harvesting and the difference between growing for fiber or seed or both, which we'll be discussing with some of the people that have grown already here over the last year or two. The first and the aim of what I would say if you're planning to grow hemp is the first year is to really get either become beekeepers or find a beekeeper and get hives on the hemp and produce hemp honey, because it is a very high demand, and I suppose it would be a good cash crop your first year. And I know certainly that I have buyers for all of it and can't supply enough. So that's something that we'll be discussing as well. And we were discussing the difference in fiber from taking it on to produce textiles or then onto the construction side with regards to the different outlets. And this varies with the seed strain and also with the length of time it's grown for. So it depends a lot on the growing season. So our friends up at the north of Scotland and the ones down at the south of England have a lot different sunlight times. So there's a few things that we discussed last year, which would be like growing to have, maybe a design of something that would go over it to trap sunlight through a very wet summer, and some of the risk factors with growing hemp in our lovely summer wet weather. So we want to also discuss that after the potential for the fiber in the seed and the hemp seed oil is that a lot of farmers and growers and producers want to take the hemp from their land and process it and produce something on site. And that's what we want to be discussing, the stages of licensing with regards you getting to do that. And this is different with Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales have the Home Office. Ulster has Department of Health, and Ireland has two bodies. One you apply to grow it, and then another you apply for a license to process it or extract it. In some ways, Ireland are ahead of us because the farmers are doing it now, but in other ways, their goalposts move a lot. So some have got permission to do things and then they've done it. And then at the end, they've said, no, it wasn't quite right. So these are some of the pitfalls that we need to share with each other and kind of form a protection between all of the small growers that are working together to progress with regards licensing to get to produce high quality, local, from hemp seed oil to honey to CBD extracts, to research and development. So the aim is also to discuss working with universities and food science labs and agricultural colleges, because at the minute we have, what it's on here. At the minute we have the Agri-Food Bioscience Institute here in County Down in Hillsborough is interested in people growing hemp. And so the key is to get the people who want to research it put together with the farmers, and then everything done so that they're not importing other hemp to do the research on it. And we were nearly there, and I think that it's still very possible between the different parameters that there are in Ireland, and then with us in Ulster, and then also in England, Scotland, and Wales. So I did look at the licensing in England at the minute and what's available, and it is quite an eye-opener, and I will send this to you. I haven't learned how to post photos on a Zoom call, but I will be sending it out to everybody that's on the email list, and it will give you an idea of the prices of the licenses and really how realistic they are, as in the prices in Ireland to both grow and to produce or process, are all very affordable. They're not 20,000 and 40,000. And some of us are excited to do more research and development and to work with other cannabinoids and to try growing strains in different environments. And it's only through, I believe, academia, but also through us proving it on the land and its evidence, and then progressing us all through a nice stage of getting these licenses. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how affordable they are with the English Home Office, especially. And for Northern Ireland, for Ulster, for us to apply for the hemp license is it's free. You have to do an Access NI, which is like a crime check, and they do the certificate. So that's really your only cost. And once that's done, you download the paperwork, and I can help you get everything filled out and all the information you need to provide to make it easy for the Department of Health to give you the go-ahead. Willie is on tonight, and he has grown his second year. So I'm going to try and talk him into applying for a bigger license next year, but I'll talk to him about that later. So the objectives, I suppose, is to see if we can get a group of good people together, working together to prove this infrastructure and to prove the sustainable profitability, and also the exponential increase the further we grow it, the more years you're into it. So you'll have an outcome year one, and then when you sow again year two, there'll be an outcome and it'll be a bit better, and the same with year three. And then you might want to rotate the crops. And for me, I suppose hemp licensing wasn't just about hemp, it's about a permaculture biodiversity idea. And so hemp being used with other veg growth, with other to be used as borders, to be a remediator. So there's lots of things. I think a scatter sow is one way to grow hemp, but I think if it was grown as maize, it would have a totally different outcome. So, and these are things that we can all learn together. So it's to I suppose to discuss the possibility of growing in one location and processing in another, and then with extraction potential in only certain areas until until our regions catch up, I suppose. And I'm hoping that Ian Marshall will join the next meeting, and he's an MLA, but he also is a professor at Queen's University. He works in the food safety labs and is an advocate and promoter of hemp and has grown for 2 years. So we've got politics and farmer, and also this working in the university. And so that's what I'm willing to do, I think, with the group, with the Sustainable Growth Co-op, is to help set up these workshops where as a degree enhancement for many students or postgrads, but also for people who have graduated who are curious to get into this, be that as an intern, or perhaps they're an agricultural student and they are hopefully going on to get land and they want to learn about it now. So I believe that that's truly how we can move the hemp movements, is through students and education and research and proving how awesome it is. So there's also no point in us discussing unrealistic profit margins. So I think a lot of people want to have questions on how many seeds do I get back per acre? How much hemp seed oil can I produce from an acre of seed? How much fiber, I'm fascinated with fiber that's more like wood as compared to fiber for textiles. And if you see the hemp at the cannabis grow, you can see the change in the density of hurd to shiv. So all of those things I'm very fascinated by, and also fascinated about using hemp byproducts and the leftover in livestock, and to start putting hemp back into our diet through our beef, through eggs, through dairy. So these are all things that universities and agricultural colleges are definitely getting more interested in. And I also want to discuss like the potential risks of, like for us last year, it was a very cold spring, and kind of our seed showing up late was a good thing, because it had a much better chance. So to discuss potential risks of, because I think we can't go into this as just speaking about all the positives. We need to, be realistic about the return year 1, year 2, year 3. And I believe if we work together, that will exponentially increase quicker. So I've looked through, I'm going to give you all the chance to answer questions, but I'm just going to go through this. I've looked through and can send the licensing procedure for each of the areas, if you all would like, and the differences and the pricing. So obviously the ones in Scotland, England, and Wales, you'll want to look at the Home Office's application and fact sheet, which I can send out. In Ireland, the process and the Irish Hemp Association. Also in Scotland, I have spoken to the Scottish Hemp Association, but not the Welsh Hemp Association. So it'd be interesting to get a communication then between all of the hemp associations. And this is where France, I suppose, is really killing it, because they're quite new to it as well. But I read their report on last year's harvest and how it all went, and it was very interesting. But it's good to see how the other countries are doing it, because although it's, like we said, this is something that was done for so long, growing it again, the land has to get accustomed to it. We have to get accustomed to it. Our machinery, we have to know what machinery to use, when to harvest, when we can start using the flowers, how we go about applying for licenses for the flowers. So let me just see. I just wanted to say, yeah. So the next meeting, like I said, we're hoping to have Ian Marshall from the Queen's Food Safety, and Ed Hambridge from Keaton Farm in County Wicklow, and he produces his own CBD on site, field to bottle. Also Helen Keys from Source Grow, she's growing flax, but also wants to establish the moving of, say, honey or hemp seed oil from farm to restaurant to school. And she works at Queen's Food Lab as well. So I'm hoping she's going to come on and discuss the flax and the scotch with us. So that'll be exciting. And if any of you do want, and I just found this out tonight, which is kind of a matter of urgency, the closing date for the home office applications are the 28th of February. So that is something not to put pressure under, but if you are curious about making the application procedure, if you can get in touch after the meeting or tomorrow, and then in 2 weeks' time, we'll hopefully get you through those final questions and stages before the deadline. I'm hoping. Might have to move it forward. Also to discuss the seed supply and the strains that we're allowed to grow, but then it's actually getting them. So I've been in touch with a few hemp seed suppliers in Poland and Romania. So I want to be able to, if you have any strains that you're curious about, we were discussing earlier, Fanula and Henola, but there's a couple more. There's actually, I think, 19 on the list that's allowed. So if you would like to have a look at that list, and you're curious about getting the seed, to let me know. Sorry, just to work all this talking. So from seed supply, different strains to let me know what the purpose is that you want to experiment with trying first, and any questions, and then also some guidance on the region that you're in with regards to the length of the summer and the strains that are the long grow or short grow or the medium grow. So I can discuss that with you also. And something that I think we're all curious about is the various extraction methods. So whenever you've grown it, what are the options? So we'll be discussing from cold pressing to CO2, carbon dioxide extracting and distillation, to alcohol extraction, and it's kind of the differences, and answer any of those questions that you have. So on that note, I'm going to open it up in case anybody has any questions that they would like to ask now that's come into mind.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Ron. I was talking to you Facebook and stuff. I was just curious. You said that the growing license for hemp was free and from the Home Office, didn't you?
No, sorry, from the Department of Health here in Northern Ireland. Ours is free. Yours, it depends on the size and the amount. And also in Northern Ireland with the Department of Health, it's actually the land that gets the license, whereas in the Home Office, it's a little bit different. So I've posted up a list of the different licenses that are available in the Home Office and how much they cost. And it'd be interesting, there is actually domestic use licenses and things, which I was very surprised at. So it give you an idea of, okay, well, if I got this one this year and it went well, then I know that I can maybe get the money together to get the next one, and to get, I think most licenses are rejected for really simple things, like people just want to fly before they're running, and they're like, oh, I want to extract CBD tomorrow, and so I can kind of teach you the charming way of answering that so that it works, and then to see the stages then that you can go up. But when you look at the licenses that are available at the home office, you'll be amazed. Like I was amazed, and they are all affordable. Even the highest, most expensive one, I think, is 4,700. So in a co-op, between a few growers and a few producers, that's affordable. It's not 50,000 or 100,000, which, and I believe, well, we were working with Green Light Industries, and many of these labs that have got the go-ahead and maybe the funding, it's very difficult because they can't get the supply. So there's a license where we could supply them what they need to do the research, from CBD to THC to CBD, all the flowers, and that's the exciting part, that at year 2 we could apply for real licenses that can make a real difference, so that we are all completely above board, all following and producing the highest quality, be it from dense growth fiber for seed right through to producing for CBD oil, so, and I will, discuss the difference. The best CBD or hemp that I grew has been in the hedge. So it's to take one and to grow it up in the hedge. And that is a beautiful, they either go male or female. And so you seed and then flower, but they're protected from our nasty weather in the hedge.
What I was curious for with regards to licenses is, hopefully in the future I'll have land and places to work with and people to work with. But for now, I've kind of done all the book and research I can do, and online certificates and all that, and I'm book smart here. I've got that. I've just like to work with the plant, and I was wondering, is there any small home licenses you can get to just protect yourself if you want to just grow at home and figure it out first?
There is, but I would recommend, and that you do find someone local, or a farmer, or somebody who has a little bit of land or a lot, and you rent it, and you are a group of people. It doesn't have to be a lot. I had 400-meter square plots, and to research and to learn, you can do a lot in that, and so it's, and I also would say this, you can apply for a license, and whether or not you use it till the following spring, that's okay. At least it's applied for and got. Does that make sense? So, so the land, I would say, can always be found or rented, and many farmers or smallhold landowners, they're out working 2 jobs trying to manage a piece of land. They want help, and you can help them, and they help you. And this is what the Sustainable Growth Co-op is to bring people who have no land together with those who do have land, and to work cooperatively, that everybody does well out of it. The good thing about renting land that you should know when it comes to hemp as well is that you don't pay for the land until the harvest is done. So it's not like you have to prepay for the year. And that's a great, so that the money you're just putting in is for the power, I'll get these terms right, for the and the seed and the sow, but that what you owe that farmer come October when it's off the land, and so that's, to me, is, and then having a few students as interns or agriculture students that come out and help you, then this is how this cooperation is how I see funding. And okay, well, I've done it this big, and now I can afford to do it this big. So that's kind of where I'm at, but yes, obviously, I'd love a few greenhouses and a polytunnel full of it.
No, that's great. Thank you very much. That definitely answered my question.
No problem, Ronan. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions about licenses or where you are?
I mean, as far as I understand it, with the Home Office, there's about 500 and something pound for a license for the first year. It's a little bit less for consecutive years. And I thought if I apply for a license, that would only be for 1 year at a time.
Right. Ours are for 3 years. So
Okay.
although you have to apply, what I noticed with the Home Office, it really depends on what you want to do with it. You can pay more and they'll come out and visit and make sure you're doing everything tickety-boo. Or you can start really small with just the permission to grow it and to work with your hemp association. To say the input there, so 500 for the license, and let me just get these numbers right, 12 to 15 kilos of seed per acre, and then you want to think about how many tons you've got of seed coming off that, and then how much price per ton. So at the very stage where you're at, to apply to grow, to get those seeds and to squeeze those into oil is a great first step, But to know then that on the strength of that and the money you make, that this license is the one that you're going for next, or to look at them to say, right, well, I'll apply for the licenses collaboratively if necessary, and that you don't have to use them right away. And for Ulster, the piece of land has the license for 3 years. The farmer has to have an access NI done every year, just in case he decided to commit any crimes. So I'm not too sure. I actually meant to check before the meeting if the Home Office, if you have a crime check on you before that. And that is actually a question I'm not 100% if you have to get that done before you apply, but I will find that out for everybody. But with Scotland as well, the Scotland Agricultural School and the Scottish Hemp Association are they're flying right now. So there's funding for you there, and universities. So those are 2 phone calls and possibly, membership that you should consider. So great people, so I would say that, and I'm hoping to be back in touch with them.
I mean, I'm ready to grow this season if I could get through the logistics and bureaucracy to be prepared to do so and to source seed. The other thing is also we're certified organic with the Soil Association, so I need organic seeds.
No, I can get you those, yeah. And no, that's good when it comes to the resale of your oils. Also, I could sell all your seed. If it's got the stamp of organic, I can sell it all to John at Linwood Seeds. He'd take it. So, that's a real bonus for you to have that. So then,
that narrows things down a bit in terms of what I said originally, at least for the first round, is that it's to decide on, what am I growing for? Okay, I grow for seed. So then I lead them to, so then I'd lose out on some of the other options, I guess, for some of the other byproducts. But, be very interested in what is left when seeds are harvested. What can I do with stalks and stems and fibers?
Yeah.
And so forth. The other thing you said, which tickled my interest, is, which I sort of understand is not an option, is to harvest flowers in the UK. You said there's a business in the Northern Ireland who does that from soil to seed to bottle.
Yeah,
CBD wise, because there was some big clampdown in 2019 on some big operation in England.
Yes,
and since then licenses have not been given, as far as I understand, to CBD extraction.
Okay, so here's my advice on this, and I, like you, a couple of years ago, Sven was like, I want to grow it, produce it, I'd like, and I would say, to to make the seed and to get that all sold and to experiment and research with the fiber is great for year one, right? And then that you're noticed, and then and university, and then you go into the home office and apply for the next stage of the extraction. I'll explain. Ed, wonderful extraction. It's a cold press way, and he uses flower and seed together and presses it and stores it, and it is the cannabinoid profile in it is unreal. And you know, it's then getting it from his farm out to the good people, you know. So that's where I kind of come in, that there has to be this get to market. So it's not, you know, it's get the seed to the guy, to the farmer, get the ground prepared, get the first crop sold. So if you had honey, hemp seed, and fiber, your first license, like, that's awesome. Second license, then you say, like, I'd like to extract the flowers. And with have a look at the home office's licenses, you'll be like coming back on the phone to me going, sign me up for those top three. I'm like, yes, we want to split that. You know, that's for me. The most expensive license at the home office to extract cannabis flowers for FACO is $4,700, just to give you a ballpark. Yeah. So these are all, you know, affordable.
But I mean, if I grow for seed, and you know, between us, if I took a flower or two before it's seeded, just as a little home experiment, you know.
Now listen here. We all have to research, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm a herbalist and an alchemist first. So yes, but I want your longevity, and I would rather see, yes, that happens for yourself, but that we prove this all together, and this quality and the outcomes and the evidence of the people that are, and just how fast it sells, that then piques interest, and then people are interested. And then I believe if you were to do the first license with the home office this year, I could have you set up, and you could be working with the Scottish Hemp Association and with universities, so that by year two, you're getting funding for your extractors. And do you see what I mean? Like, to use academia up on your site, interns, teach them how to grow hemp first, teach them how to cut it. You know, the next year, those interns are coming back up to do the next stage. So it is with university backing that I suggest you get funding from. And the funding, when I say, is there now coming out of Europe, but also in the UK for this, the carbon and climate change. Hemp is the winner. Like, it's part of a lot of these I want to say this right, like the grants that the agricultural people do. I have a theory on DIRA that I want them to come to me before I have to go to them. That's my theory on getting grant funding. So I think build up yourself, you know, and yes, maybe a bit of funding here and there, but sometimes when you take funding, then they take control. So, you know, I would say, however you do this is up to you, but from experience, you kind of, and Ed puts this very well, you just butter them up real good, and you jump through a few hoops. And, you know, when they come back to check on you, you know, just make sure that you're doing what you said you were doing, you know.
No, but this is very much, you know, just to paint a little bit more of a picture there is that, you know, all of this sounds really exciting, and to work with somebody like yourself would be amazing to open doors and the likes. But, you know, I would love to stay small. I would grow maybe 4-6 acres at a time. I would want to be a demonstration and research operation. Yeah. I want to be to have the universities, the whatever's come be involved, and have anybody wants to come and learn. We got sort of accommodation. We got a whole little center going, and look at the processing and look at the technologies and teach people in the long run, sort of teach to set up similar small operations, because I see now the big guys are catching on, and I've seen the same thing happening in other industries, of innovative industries, where great enthusiasm and ideology is flourishing, and suddenly it becomes monopolized by the big guys. You have to come to us with your product. You have to buy it back from us. La di da di da. You know, I resent that,
And
and
that's
I
what
want to.
I want that protection for a good group of people
Yeah.
that can work together, so that we all win. That's the whole idea behind this cooperative. It's like, if you succeed, I'm succeeding, and if we're all working together, and it's all in this what's what I'm like a transit, that, and if we're all working cooperatively, we can keep that quality. We can keep the small guys safe. We can beat the Monsantos, and we can beat these pharma grows of cannabis. And if you were to think now of the degrees that apply to this subject, so take it from medical right the way through to ecology and anthropology, so you think of the degrees that apply for this to be a part of a degree enhancement. Like you said, from processing it to hemp as an environmental ecology solution, technology with regards to graphene and some of the hemp woods, the potential of the tree of life is endless. But there's no point in you as a little guy doing it and us and not communicating, and me over here. Whereas if we're both supporting and sharing each other's events and going and speaking, and to me, that's where we're going to reach a lot more people and reputation of being the best. Of course. Anybody else have any questions on licenses, especially kind of specific to your area, or anything they want to share? Anybody?
I have one final question. It's not really about licenses, but when you talked about getting the real good cannabinoid profile from the seeds and the CBD extract, is there anywhere here that you can get your cannabis test or your end product tested for your cannabinoids?
The ones we would mainly use a lab over in America. A lot of us would use it. Proverde. I can put that, if you remind me, I'll send a link to it. So that would be one in America that's highly reputable. There's one in Spain, but the waiting lists can be quite bad, but also they've got very strict on whether or not you've got a license to do it. So just the random testing became a bit tricky. It's something, I did have somebody in England and then they weren't available anymore. So Proverde is it's affordable, it's very good, and they're very fast as well. So that's who I would use. But there's something else. Like, I would love us to have our own lab. I would like people to grow and then bring it, and it's extracted and tested and given back to them in a way that's safe for them to use, and that's the expertise that are there, and the teaching potential for me to teach the endocannabinoid system to student doctors, and to teach CBD massage for preschool teachers, like the potential and also the lucrativeness. You can have a lecture theater and in a local university and only charge £5. But if 200 people show up, that's a really good boost to your project or whatever. And that's, for me, I suppose you all want to know what you have to learn about year one is you want to learn how to make enough money to make year two happen. So that's for me, where the honey comes into it. We're producing the oil, we're selling the seed. Year two, then we're all working together, and someone wants to specialize in growing flowers. Somebody's land is great for fiber. They want to explore. Do you see what I mean? This is like a wagon wheel, and it's a monopoly board that's laying wide open right now. And like you say, big pharma and these big industrial multinational CBD people are going to come in and put hotels all over our tribe lands. And what I would like is us to kind of communicate like the tribes used to, like, well, we're doing this in Ulster and they're doing this down in Wicklow, and we're allowed to do this. Can we ship our seed out or to be cleaned, or you know? So, see, I'd like to find loopholes. In other words, that what you can't do in one area, you can do in another area, and we get all of that sorted out. That's my hope and dream.
No, that's great. Thank you very much for answering that.
Brilliant, no problem. Willie, did you want to say anything about this year's grow, or anything about licensing? Or you? I suppose Willie's a farmer, so he would know a lot about the DIRA and, you know, these agricultural associations, you know, and that's where getting in touch with your local farmers. So Willie was involved in kind of growing hemp as an environmental protection. I don't want to get this wrong, Willie, but I think you were doing it as part of a scheme.
No,
so
not
these,
the hemp. No, I was growing wildflowers as a part of an EFS scheme, environmental scheme, but the hemp was just a one-off to try and grow for the seed. And but I had been telling a guy before Christmas, and he said that Hillsborough Research Centre had been interested in farmers to grow it, but I never heard back from them, so we'll need to maybe follow that up. Just
no problem. Then I will do that. And this, you know, these courses are happening, and the research, you know, there is a demand, and we were nearly there at the Department of Health with getting the infrastructure. So it's a little bit of stepping forward and stepping to the side twice, and backwards and forwards a bit, you know. And what we're trying to do is, I suppose, as we've learned and discovered, there's the way of doing things. It's only to share, to make it easier for you, you know, to prevent pitfalls, you know. So like I said, I will hopefully be putting together an email with a lot of relevant links and information on the licensing in the different areas. And if any of you have any question or something you're curious about before the next meeting, but I'm just thinking now, the next meeting was supposed to be Tuesday week, so I'm just going to quickly check. No, so I think what, you know, if you're for the home office applications, you know, you're looking at Monday the 28th, which is 13 days away. So I might change this next meeting, if you'd like to do it maybe for next Tuesday, just for those who are interested in applying through the home office. I know I am curious and interested in applying for at least one or two. So although I'd said to have the next meeting in 2 weeks, I think if we do it next week, because the time is of the essence, especially with the home office. Is that okay with everyone? And Philippa, you can hit stop now. That's brilliant.